So, I don't know about you guys, but I've been longing for a game that I can play like I had in my younger days. I'm currently 20 years old, almost 21, and I feel myself a part of the older generation of gaming that grew up with the PS2 and Xbox. I was lucky as a kid to have a brother who was 7 years older than I, so I got to play some games I probably shouldn't have been, and this helped me have the passion I have for gaming that has lasted me 17 years so far, and it's definitely going to be longer. Not could, it's definitely going to be longer. But today I found myself struggling to find a game that keeps my attention. I find myself going back to older games because the new games just aren't doing it. Like, I still play Halo MCC, which are games that are 15, 20 plus years old, and I still enjoy them more than when I play the new Call of Duty, for example. I don't know what it is about games these days, but they just aren't finished or don't have the same attention to detail, or even just don't leave the same to the imagination because the technology is there to where they can just show it, but it's just not the same. And I have a favor to ask y'all before I get any further into this. I would really like if y'all could just leave a comment, tell me what you thought of this video after you watch it, leave a like or dislike, because either way it counts as engagement, or if you can give me a sub because you'd like to see more of my content. And if you guys wanted to share this video because you thought it was interesting enough, I would really appreciate that, and thank you for coming to my shill TED Talk. So, it's a great surprise when a couple of years ago, I heard they're bringing a new experience to the Xbox Live called the Game Pass. Now, the Game Pass, ever since its inception, has been a cool idea to me. Pay $15 a month and get access to any title on the program, and play for as long as you're subscribed to the program. Sure, it sounds like a Netflix of gaming, but who wouldn't enjoy that, especially as an avid gamer, being able to jump in and out of whatever game you wanted to play at that specific moment? It's gotten better and better over the years. Microsoft adds any of their new main IPs to the library for free at launch, which is incredible, and now they're even updating old games to be in 60 FPS. I actually was in the middle of this script, but the 20th anniversary for Xbox was, well, yesterday at this point, and they announced that they're updating some games to have 60 FPS, and these are Xbox 360 titles. And note, for you to be able to get this on the console, you have to be using a Series X or greater. This doesn't work with the original Xbox One. There's a whole list of games that they actually just updated a couple days ago, but I was wanting to play Fable 2 and 3, Gears 2 and 3, and out of all of those, only one hadn't been upgraded to the 60 FPS, and that was Fable 2, much to my chagrin. It has given me a reason to even go back and try in Fable 3 to see how much the 60 FPS makes a difference in its gameplay. And even though I'm still sad that Fable 2 got shafted, at least I can still try Fable 3. But my current replay of Fable 2 would be so much better if it was in 60 FPS. But I'm going to have the list scrolling of what games are boosted, so you can have an idea of what games are going to be more fun than others. Well, how can this get better? And if I haven't been able to sell it on you yet, there's one more thing that I think might be able to interest you. And that is being able to stream 360 titles to your PC, which is how I've been playing Skate 3, Gears of War 2, and Fable 2, or any other games that they have in the cloud streaming library. Now, mind you, not every game on the Game Pass does have this xCloud feature, but there is a supported list that you can look at, and that if I remember, I will have scrolling on the screen. But this is the perfect opportunity if you're like me and you've been wanting to go back to play some 360 games, but you just haven't had a 360 in a very long time. I've been really wanting to play Gears of War 2, Fable 2, those two games in particular have been calling my name, and now I can even give Viva Pinata a chance, which I plan on doing individual videos for all of these games. Now, like I said earlier, it does run on a cloud-based system, kind of like how the Stadia was supposed to run, and this means that performance is more tied to your internet connection than your actual PC. If you have a good connection, I highly recommend trying this out, but if you're in an area where you just have some bad internet, this definitely wouldn't be for you. But I wanted to test and see how the xCloud performed, so I decided to test it out in Fable 2, Gears 2, and Skate 3. This covers quite a few different years of the Xbox life cycles and has different levels of intensity of graphics. Well, it performed really well. I did not have a issue besides some slight input delay for most of my gaming sessions. That's just incredible to me, and I'm extremely happy with how this service has turned out so far. But now it's time to dig into the individual games themselves, and we're going to start with the first game I tried, Skate 3. Well, if you're one of the 5 people who never heard of Skate 3, and you've been living under a rock all this time, this is one of the greatest Xbox 360 titles. I mean, full stop, just with how much fun it can be, and if you have a full group of friends together, it is one of the best party games to play. And not only that, it is still fun to just skate around by yourself to this day. So, what do you do in Skate? Well, when you're not playing with friends, there's challenges you can do by yourself, whether it be own the spot, Hall of Meat, death races, all of which you can do with your friends, you can do these solo. And there's also the pro skaters that are in the game, which make cameo appearances. Those are cool. It has Rob Dyrdek, which is the only one I really know of. But cameo and special appearances aside, how does the game run? Well, like I said, you need a good internet connection, but since I do, and I have a good PC, it ran fairly well. And it was only at 30 FPS and 720p, which is kind of a shame. I would love to see this game get the Xbox boost. But since it didn't, I would just have to suffice with what I got. And it was still an absolute blast. I wish I could have rounded up a couple of buddies though. Would I recommend this game? Absolutely. And especially if you have a couple of buddies you can play it with, it can absolutely become a weekly thing for y'all to play. There's tons of content to sink your teeth into, whether you want to do Hall of Meat, the death races, the skates, the own your own spots, or just goof off in the skate/mega parts that the game has to offer. Sorry, I just don't have a lot to say about Skate because the game kind of just explains itself, and you'd be into it based upon the title alone if you think you'd be interested into a skate game or not. But let's talk about a game I can tell you a lot more about and that I'm a lot more passionate about, and that would be Fable 2. Fable 2, what many would say to be the best game in the series, and I would agree with that. Fable 2 is the best Fable game that we've gotten to date. And that doesn't mean that the gameplay in 3 didn't get an upgrade, but the story definitely got a downgrade there. And with a new Fable game on the horizon, I definitely wanted to go back and play my favorite in the series, because I'm just extremely excited for its return, and I can't wait for Fable 4, or whatever they decide to call it. So, what is Fable, you're asking? The uncultured viewer? Well, Fable is a fantasy game with some light RPG elements. You're either the hero or the villain of the story, but your character reflects this and with how you act in the game. If you want to be a good guy, you get a halo over your head, and you have people swarming you because they think you're beautiful, and then you make them happy. But if you're an evil character, you start to get flies around you, and I'm assuming he's actually just a stinky boy because of the flies, and you also get a sick set of devil horns, but your skin turns deathly pale, and you just look really devilish. Now, I'm usually the one to play the good guy in RPG games, but this game literally gives you almost every incentive not to. Want to become rich quick? Well, you gotta raise the taxes and the rent on everyone in town, and you just become an evil person because of that. But sorry, capitalism, baby! But sorry, this isn't the time for politics in my video games. But this game is still fantastic, and I'll stand by all of its janky sides. So, now, with that out of the way and just the brief telling of what Fable is, how does the game hold up to the cloud experience? Well, something I noticed that there is a little bit of delay, especially when I first got into Bowerstone and I wanted to get some gold, so I started grinding out the blacksmithing task. And I wanted to be a little bit broken late game, and this is where I noticed this delay the most. So what is the blacksmithing minigame? Well, literally all it is you pressing A within a green line. Now, that may sound more difficult than what I anticipated because of the delay. Sometimes it would recognize it as a hit on the anvil when it was inside the green line, and sometimes even when it was outside the green line, it would count as a hit on the sword, meaning I did it right. So, it would just led it to being really inconsistent and was kind of frustrating at times. Also, mind you, my controller is wired, so there should be very little delay with this, but there was a lot of delay. But I still found myself grinding it out for hours and hours, not only one because I needed the gold, but 2, because I knew the grinding would actually be worth something, unlike most games these days. Also, one of the cutscenes I was watching, it seemed like it was playing back in 60 FPS, which is odd because I don't remember the Xbox version having 60 FPS cutscenes, but maybe this is just something from the cloud being weird and causing it to function weirdly. I mentioned this earlier, but it didn't get the 60 FPS treatment that I wish it would have, like Fable 3 and 1 did, because this game would feel fantastic and it would just breathe a new life into it if it had a 60 FPS gameplay, and it would just feel more fluid than what it already is. I've had a few odd startups. Once I was launching the game, it would just go full white, and then I would just have to restart the game. Or sometimes it would just take a while to load in. Also, when in combat, sometimes I would find myself pressing the button to use potions more than once, and it just didn't seem to be registering it, which it was kind of annoying. It just seemed to even ignore my inputs a few times, which was kind of annoying. But this wasn't a consistent thing enough for that to bother me, the outright of ignoring inputs, that is. But that's all I have to really cover with Fable 2. It's a solid game. Go and play it. I still love it. I'm still having fun. I'm planning on finishing it. So, there's that. But now we're on to the very last game that I wanted to try and test out on Nextcloud, and that's Gears of War 2. Gears of War 2, a classic of the 360 era, and again, many would hold it as the best in the series. So how does this hold up in cloud play? Well, as I had mentioned earlier in the script, Gears of War 2 is now running at 60 FPS, which makes this an even more amazing experience. Not only for this Gears game, but now Gears of War 1, 2, Judgment, 3, every Gears game can be played in 60 FPS, which is fantastic. The game just feels extremely responsive. I can be a little bad at it at times, but I'm just going to attribute that to rust and me not having played this game for many, many years. So, does the game's combat hold up? Is getting into cover and chainsawing grubs just as fun as what it was all those years ago? Yes. Yes, it is. And like I said, with the 60 FPS improvement, it just feels even better and the game feels buttery smooth, assuming you have a good internet connection. Also, if you've never played Gears of War or Gears of War 2, the emotional depths this game reaches is kind of crazy for a total do-bro game. It really just hits because of all the time you spend with the characters, and I definitely cry at a few points in the campaign, and I'm going to spoil them now, because you should have played this game by now, and if you haven't, you're just missing out. But if you don't want to hear this, skip like 3-4 minutes ahead, and if that, and you'll be out of it. I'll put a timestamp on the screen. But just that Dom scene, oh my god, that Dom scene just makes me bawl my eyes out, because you've just been, for the past 2 games, he's been looking for that woman. And then once he finds her in that state, it's just heartbreaking. And the Benjamin Carmine scene, watching that in 60 FPS and watching him die all over again, just made me feel sad and sad and sad. So that's all the games I wanted to cover. And now the final question you may be having is, do you think I should get the Game Pass? And if you can get it for $1, which that special happens quite a bit, I highly recommend it. And even at the price tag of $15 a month, it's a great deal that comes with a lot of benefits, such as being able to play whatever games you want whenever. So, do I recommend it? Yes. Do you need a good internet connection? Yes. Is this also a very great service that Xbox is offering, and probably one of the revolutionary services to come out of Microsoft? Yes. So, if you've made it this far into the video, I just want to thank you for watching this long, and for watching me rant about the Game Pass and talk about games you guys have probably already played. But if you guys would just leave a like, comment, and subscribe, it would really help me out in the algorithm. And if you've watched this far, you've also helped me out a lot too by helping boost the viewer retention. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace.